latest episode of the Junkers podcast, and today we're going to be talking about 1917.
The movie. Not the year.
Not the year.
I thought we were going to be talking about the year.
When I was there, it was a shit year.
It was a pretty bad year.
Not that good.
Yeah.
I missed the internet.
But 2020, that movie came out and it was good.
2012 also came out.
Oh shit. Okay. We're not gonna talk about
Yeah,
that.
for them, it didn't seem so good.
Yeah.
You didn't like the part with with the water and
No, not a big fan of all the water. I mean, I like the water, but not all the water.
Day After Tomorrow was way better, dude. No, I'm joking. But anyway, so let's get started with this discussion. So the cinematography right off the bat. I mean,
it's Roger Deakins. So I remember actually not even knowing that Roger Deakins even did the cinematography for this movie. I watched the trailer for it. I was like, God damn! Even from the first shot, I was like, fuck, this movie has like badass as fuck cinematography. Yeah. And then I found out later actually that Roger Deakins was doing the cinematography for it. And you know what's crazy about the cinematography is that from the trailer, you can't even really tell that it's like a one-shot movie. Of course, the trailer's cut, but like, you know, you can tell, like, not now knowing that it's like a single-shot movie. Mm-hmm. You know, all the shots are Steadicam and gimbal and everything like that.
I would say they're way more gimbal than ever Steadicam. I don't think they really use.
They used a slew of rigs, dude.
They used a bunch of different rigs. They used like cranes. They used like they
did
even,
a mixture.
They did gimbals where they passed it on to like
trucks and the cranes,
cranes and everything. Like that part whenever they're going to like down that little crater.
Yeah,
and then it kind of skims the water.
It was like on the the bed of the truck, and then it came off into the handheld. It comes right back up onto a truck.
Comes into the truck.
Yeah, and then they put it onto this.
Oh, for that shot, the one where they're in the little crater from the.
They actually had one of those extendable cranes, and they kind of had it skim the surface of the water.
I was like, how the fuck did they even shoot
I was actually thinking that the entire time. I was like,
because it was attached to the truck because it had to move across evenly across the thing. That thing was on the back of a truck. Yeah. And I know
that they definitely used the truck for the scene in the flares. You know, whenever he was running and shit, they used the truck. And
we'll get to that.
They used the motorcycle too. It was on the motorcycle.
That scene was fucking.
The flare scene. I was.
We'll talk about that later.
We'll get into that.
But
just overall, the cinematography, like in the trailer, you can kind of tell now that after you've seen the movies, it definitely looks like a movie that's a single shot.
Yeah, I haven't seen a trench scene like that good since freaking Paths of Glory.
Yeah, you know what's crazy though is that this movie, like I didn't think. I thought the cinematography was going to take a hit because of like
the one shot thing.
The one shot, because every movie that I've seen that is one shot, I felt like it's been too like
focused on just like the one shot aspect and not like trying to get one shot in like multiple shots in one shot. Yeah. See, going back to what you were saying about whenever you saw the trailer and it looked like a movie that was going to have just multiple shots. You know, like it's be cuts. I kind of felt that way in the actual movie too, even though you're like experiencing it in real time and it's not cutting. Like there are shots within that kind of formula.
They did a fantastic job hiding the cuts.
Yeah.
Like
not only just that, but even whenever it's supposed to be just like obviously one shot, like there are like staged shots within that that are like, whoa, this is fucking badass. Yeah, it's just
more like they try to get away with just like the novelty of it just being all one shot.
Exactly. Yeah.
But with this, it just kind of like you said, it's multiple shots, but they blend them in together in a way that's more like it's way more dynamic. It perfected that kind of like genre.
Yeah. I think the fact that they used multiple rigs and with different shot within the same shot, it actually made it feel like different shots. You could tell that there was like certain rigs, like the one that we were talking about with the crater, for instance. Like that seemed like its own shot. You know what I'm saying? Just the way that it was framed.
Well, I almost feel like 3 shots actually.
Because when they're going down, sorry for that focus puller, dude.
They're probably all doing wireless. There's probably some guy in a tent.
I know.
Yeah.
But I'm just saying, like, I feel bad for that focus puller pulling these long take shots like that. Like,
oh, dude, the thing is, like nowadays they have it so easy.
Yeah, they have assisted
because they have like marking. They have like stop points.
Yeah, the stop points and everything like that. But still, you can't really rely on that in that kind of situation.
Yeah, no, you can't, because everything is different every take. It's not like, this is going to be here.
Yeah, but they still block it, obviously.
Well, the thing is, they obviously, like, this movie didn't really...
For that scene, they knew how far away they were going to be from the camera, so they set a B point for that, you know?
Estimate, because that thing was still in the back of something that still moved on its own. it was reversing. You couldn't possibly hit the same exact mark every time, so you couldn't rely on the same.
Sure, yeah,
at the same points.
Yeah.
So it would be up to the focus puller to be able to and nail that for such a long take. And like it's going to be moving over the gimbal onto the crane, over across the thing, and then over top. How it did, because it had they walked up the thing and it was all that barbed wire there, and he had to nail that, like the shot where it was the back of that dead dude's head and stuff like that.
Which scene?
When he was crawling out of that crater.
Yeah, okay, gotcha. Yeah. Uh-huh.
So like they focused on that dude that's just like laying on it. Like they were able to manage to focus the bodies on there. Like you could see all of that mixed in with, because you were looking at that. You knew what they were doing, but you were getting drawn to, like, at least my eyes were, they were drawn to every body it could possibly find.
That's kind of what I liked about the movie. I mean, it's kind of weird to say that. I like the bodies.
A bit morbid, dude.
No,
they did a good job really set decorating.
Right,
like,
definitely.
No, dude. Actually, the level of morbidity, is that a word? In this movie is actually pretty artfully done.
Looking for his morbidosity.
I don't. There's one more thing I wanted to say about the focus. I did
Morbidity?
notice that even though the focus, it was spot on, obviously, but like a lot of it was shot in like daytime. So they could actually go like, up on the f-stop.
All of it.
So it's like they could get a lot of stuff in focus where they didn't have to like they didn't have a super shallow depth of field in this movie.
True.
Yeah.
So they had a little bit more wiggle room to kind of
Even in the scenes whenever, like for instance, whenever they went into the enemy trenches where it was emptied out and they went inside that one place where the rat, hits the tripwire. But even those scenes had way shallower depth of field, and those were like fucking. The focus was just like on point.
Yeah,
I remember there was one shot where they're walking down the stairs and it's focused on the wall in the back and shit. It's like kind of focused where they're looking, basically. And it's like, god damn, you can just like feel it.
Dude, that rat scene though, it was just like as soon as he said tripwire, I'm just like, there's a fucking rat in there, man. And you just see him like fall on the ground. I'm like, oh,
I don't know about this.
Yeah, this is not gonna end well. Yeah. It's just like, shouldn't that rat have hit that thing by now?
Man, that fucking scene, dude, like hit me hard, dude. Because
that was tough.
That was really intense.
Yeah.
Like I remember thinking, because this is all obviously based off of a real event, and it's like, God, these people actually had to go through shit like this, where it was like actually this intense, and I was like, man, this is like the first time I've watched a war movie and really kind of felt it and be like, God, dude, war fucking sucks.
Dude, not only that, but I think the actual one shot makes it way more immersive
because it plays out real time
completely.
Yeah, it makes you feel like you're taking every step with them.
It takes I know a lot of people bitch about the movie because there were not a lot of battles. But it's just like, but you didn't even need it. It didn't need all the battles.
Yeah, World War I wasn't just nonstop fucking trench warfare.
Yeah, it's not like Commando where there's like
there was a lot of downtime and a lot of
you got Trenchfoot sitting in there for so long.
Trenchfoot was a thing because everybody was just like fucking static.
Yeah. Also just like the dread of like what's
going on.
Yeah, and like the idea that like, because the Germans had abandoned that trench, like the idea that they gave up 9 miles of fucking land was at the time. You think that's not very much, but in World War I, they fought for 20 yards. They fought for like an insanely little amount of thing. There's so many dead people for such a small amount of land gained.
Yeah, I guess that kind of plays into the whole story of this movie, is the fact that like they kind of caught on to the fact that the Germans were like going too easy on them. It's like, well, why are they giving up all this land? We fucking fought so hard for this fucking land.
And then all of a sudden they're just gone.
And they just have all this fucking land to work with.
It's like a tsunami kind of like receding.
Yeah.
Like 9 miles in World War I was essentially like one half of the United, like going from California to New York. Yeah. Like people, like they fought so hard for just that inch.
Yeah.
And that was the main point of the entire thing, was land. Like you would stack bodies and bodies until one side could not take the losses anymore and they had to give up the land.
Yeah.
Like that's one thing that's been completely different from every other war. And they nailed just how important that land was. Like that the guy was
right off the bat too.
Yeah. That the guy, Benedict Cumberbatch was willing to send all those people in to die for that little bit of land gained.
Yeah.
Like they managed to slip in that far. Could you imagine if they hadn't and the Germans, instead of doing that kind of stuff, hit them from both ends?
Yeah.
Like they managed to pull out those German troops and get them behind that line so quick.
Man, yeah. The first part of the movie, whenever they just leave their own trench and they come above that freaking that line, and they're just
that's a really good transition because like there's almost like I wouldn't say comfort, but like you get used to like how like the trenches are like like at home base. But once you cross over, it's like they're crossing into like another world.
Where you see the dead animals, you see the fucking. It just looks so like freaking.
The set dressing, and it's
oh my god, the set dressing is among the best I've ever seen in any movie. The way
you can tell where because instead of doing like the weird, like you guys ever watch Birdman?
No.
So it's like the same thing. It's like one shot movie the entire time, but you could see where they would make the cuts. You know what I'm saying? You could see where,
Yeah, like in Birdman, they would just kind of like take the camera and take it over to the side, and then like.
Yeah, and then bounce back into the scene. This one, like, I think what they had to have done was insane rotoscoping on certain objects, because you could tell when. I could see where they switched scenes, but it was so streamlined and seamless right off of the objects they were going in front of.
Anytime they went from outside inside, like whenever there was a massive exposure change and there was like pitch black wherever they were going, there was obviously like that there was a cut there, but it just made it seem seamless. But whenever there's something in the foreground and then they probably had it on some kind of rig that like was able to perfectly replicate that same movement, and then it just like cut into the next shot.
Yeah, and then obviously there was a scene where there was a couple of scenes where they entered like some sort of like a dark area where there was probably obviously a cut there,
or
but
if they're traversing like a building.
Anytime something passed through the foreground, there's a cut. 100%. Like, because that's the perfect place to cut in a one-shot looking thing. And I feel
this was a movie that they could not have shot on film, actually.
Yeah, no.
Just because of how many retakes they probably did.
Yeah, well, especially for the outdoor scenes, like, because like they were literally like doing nothing but rehearsing.
Yeah.
Like while the sun, because if you notice that like, every single shot in this movie is like overcast. Like at least like there's shadow, like the it's overcast like the entire movie, but they literally had to like wait until the clouds covered the sun.
They were
and then let's go.
Let's go. We gotta go quick. Get the shot.
I can only imagine how meticulous that was.
Yeah. It's kind of the same way.
Yeah.
Where did they film it at? Do you know the location?
I don't know. I know it takes place in France, but I don't know if where it was actually where they filmed it.
No, I wouldn't think so. I would think they would go somewhere that was.
They actually built sets for this fucking movie, so it's like it probably was filmed either in the U.S. or UK or something.
I would think maybe the UK for the overcast because like.
It's always overcast.
It's always overcast. I'm sorry, England, but your weather sucks.
They know.
Congratulations on the exit, though. No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah, congratulations on Brexit.
But your weather sucks. No,
but your weather sucks. I would say probably like around like maybe like northern England, like where Scotland and England are. I would say probably. Would
there's a lot of land there.
But they were just rehearsing over and over again until they were able to like.
Yeah, this movie was probably like 70% blocking. Just like where are you going to be? How many steps are you going to take? Where exactly are you moving? You know what I'm saying? They had to fucking rehearse every single movement.
Those actors nailed it.
Yeah,
man.
they did.
Because they rehearsed it shitloads of times.
Yeah, but like I never once thought like they were out of character with their movements or like everything they did was scream that they were actually there.
Yeah, the thing is, there was even some moments where they had to like improv certain moments because like. Not everything is going to play out exactly the same every time whenever it's this type of movie. Yeah, so it's like they actually had to like, improv certain things if they accidentally tripped over somebody or like, were like trying to catch up to somebody at a certain time. Like, the thing is the camera operator also has to improv too because he has to kind of like have a feeling of where the movement is like, kind of like where it needs to focus. And, just the fact that no shot is ever the same, so it's like they really have to know what the fuck they're doing.
Yeah.
And so everything is kind of like a stage play in a way because, like, it's like basically once the show starts, it can't stop. So they're fighting the weather and everything, and they have to work. Everything is working against them. So they have to really make sure they're fucking nailing it every single time. Like whether it's the cinematography, the acting, the improv, like
that payoff though, man.
Yeah, it's really worth it, man. You know what scene really stuck out to me? Like, there's a few scenes I think about whenever I think of like the top scenes in this movie, but one of them was whenever he's in the back of that truck and then he leaves and he goes into that town and he's crossing that bridge that's been collapsed and he's like literally like balancing himself on that beam, and then he just starts getting shot at. I was like, holy fucking shit.
Dude,
this is
the
like
gunshots were so, I mean, there were probably of all like maybe 7 or 8 actual gunshots in the actual movie.
Yeah, I know. It's fucking crazy.
But each gunshot, like the impact of the bullet and the shot themselves were so like in your face about it.
Yeah. Like each bullet like matters. Like that's kind of like gives you a sense of like, you can't waste any kind of ammo or else this isn't some kind of like commando movie. My one, and I understand this is like a
nitpick.
No, it's my one complaint.
Okay. My
only complaint was
just know that you're already wrong going into this now.
No, you'll understand why I'm right.
All right. Why is that,
dude? So the shot when it's after the flare scene and he comes up to the town and it's on fire and you just see that German soldier walking up to him.
Yeah, from the distance.
Which is incredibly epic. Yeah, like, and he just turns and starts shooting at him and he turns and runs. And so the German soldier, he falls. And the dude literally runs like 20 more feet.
Oh, yeah. Okay,
and kicks out that thing underneath and crawls in. And the German soldier just walks right by.
Yeah, I felt like that whole like soldier. I mean, maybe he was drunk or some shit, but he was like, because obviously there was drunk soldiers at that time. But
still, you're chasing after an enemy soldier. Even if you fall, you're not really taking your eyes off the guy.
Yeah.
And he ran like another 20 paces and spent time kicking this thing in and then crawled underneath. And then you come running by 2 seconds later. You saw this motherfucker crawling right in.
Well, kind of expanding on that a little bit more, there were a lot of shots where I was expecting the soldiers to be shooting.
Yeah,
but they were just chasing. They shot one time and they were not reloading or anything.
Maybe the types of weapons that they're using are limited.
I know.
They are. They're limited to about 5 shots apiece.
Yeah, maybe
back in World War I.
Who knows?
If you're talking about bolt action rifles back in the day, they are limited to about 5 shots apiece.
That is true. I didn't really take that into account at the time, just because I feel like we're spoiled with modern fucking weaponry and movies. That's the thing. This is a World War I movie. It's not a World War II movie. The ammunition or just the firearm technology back then was not as sophisticated at all.
Yeah, I mean
just look at the planes, for God's sake. In comparison, it's only 20-year difference, but you have fucking literally just some fucking
biplanes,
the fucking most amazing thing in World War I was the Fokker triplane, the Red Baron. It was just this fucking little flimsy thing.
Yeah.
In comparison to what they had in World War II, the Spitfires, the fucking, the B-17. Goddamn, you know what I'm saying? It's holy shit, they had fucking huge bomber, fucking, just freaking
with 2 machine guns on the bottom, people shooting down.
They fucking upped their game in those 20 years, and we're kind of I guess. Spoiled with those sorts of advances in weaponry at that time, and then we go back to a World War I movie. It's a lot more basic.
Yeah, I feel their machine guns. Their machine guns were all they had a couple of smaller. They did have portable automatic weapons, but it wasn't very prevalent.
Did they even really have true sniper weapons back then?
Oh yeah, snipers have been around for years.
No, I'm talking about in World War I.
Yeah.
Okay, so they did have snipers.
Yes.
Okay.
We've had snipers since the American Revolution.
Okay. So remember that one scene going back to that one scene where he was crossing the bridge and that one guy was shooting from the second story of that building?
Yeah.
That was kind of like a sniper scene.
Yeah.
But it was such short range. You know what I'm saying? Right. Mm-hmm. It wasn't a real sniper scene. I feel like a sniper, would have had a way better grasp on that kind of target. But he still managed to get into the building. and then shot that guy. And that was a really fucking intense scene too.
That was like
shot
him. I thought what was way more intense was him on the like coming up the bridge, like when he was like hidden behind the stone thing, and he would pop out and shoot and get back down. And
whenever I'm talking about that scene, I'm talking about that whole thing. Whenever he's crossing the bridge, and as soon as like he starts shooting, that's like whenever it starts becoming like an actual fucking oh shit, like scene.
But like you gotta think like that building was like the only one still standing on
the outer skirts of that town.
Anywhere in that town, it really looked like everything else looked like it was on fire.
Oh, yeah.
But like there's like, of course, that would be the one position the sniper would be in, and like I could understand why like that sniper had a perfect shot on what's his face's character,
Schofield.
That's his name. Schofield,
yeah, he did. And then he was also like not moving very much. He was moving very slowly on a bridge. You know what I mean?
So he just straight up fucked
up. Not Schofield. What was it? Was because so remember when Schofield got off the trucks, the main guy, I forgot the actor's name. He was in Kingsman. He's been in a lot of stuff. The bald guy. But he comes up and he is decked out. You know this guy is a higher up officer. That sniper still had a shot on that guy and never took it. So, like that sniper waited for those trucks to go and for him to start crossing that bridge when he was like at his most like weakest vulnerable point.
He probably because he knew that if he shot early, that they would have like targeted
2 trucks of people would just start unloading on that building.
Yeah.
But like that was
a good point. Yeah, I would have done the same thing if I were in that guy's position. I would have waited till that guy that whole truck was gone.
Yeah.
Fucking miles probably.
Yeah, it would have been not miles, but definitely. Yeah, like the amount of time he waited to take the shot was definitely because he was like ample. He was crossing that bridge super slowly. He was like, and then he climbed on top, and like that's the spot like. He's trying to balance himself out, and then you go for the shot,
the kill.
Yeah,
but he didn't do it, dude. He didn't get it.
He didn't get it. He didn't get it, man.
And then his fucking fate was decided at that point, dude. One shot,
but that
missed it.
Well, that shot he took, it ricocheted off his helmet, right?
Yeah, that's what happened.
That's what knocked him out. Yeah, it knocked him out, and he wakes up into that fucking amazing flare scene.
Probably my favorite scene.
I was looking at
obviously. I think it's the scene that everybody talks about.
I was drooling at that scene, man. I was literally staring at the screen like
everything about that fucking scene is perfect.
Yeah, like so perfect that I thought, like, man, this has to be like a miniature or something. Like the way they shot it. Like, no, it was actually full scale.
Yeah, they actually
wasn't the only thing they actually shot in full night. Did they shoot it at full night?
Yeah, they did.
Okay, because
no, the thing is like Roger Deakins has these fucking crazy tungsten lights that he uses on every movie. He used them in Skyfall. Yep. He used them in Blade Runner, and now he used them in fucking 1917.
Those big towers.
They literally are just amber ass fucking orange lights that look beautiful.
For everyone who's maybe listening, if you haven't seen them, like they're like. How many layers would you say of these tungsten lights?
Fucking 50 or something.
Yeah, they're just lights and lights stacked on top of each other, at least 3 stories high of these amber lights, and they use those a lot for like when he's being chased through the city. But those scenes were filmed during the day.
Were they?
Yeah, like if you see the behind the scenes of him getting chased and
in
stuff,
the town,
that might have been rehearsals though. They were
there was a lot of rehearsals that they did shot in daytime. They shot them. They definitely shot them at night though, like for the movie.
I think maybe they may have just color graded it that way, man, because they would have gotten as much the detail they got into these things would have been better during the day and color graded down.
Maybe they shot them at twilight or something.
They had to have at some point because
are you actually able to like color grade it to like really simulate nighttime if you shoot during the day?
Yeah,
I mean there are techniques, but like
I mean,
there is one thing I know that shot whenever he actually is like escaping that town and he jumps into the river. That shot actually was shot at it looks a lot brighter if you look at the behind the scenes. And then whenever he jumps, it's like if you look at the behind the scenes, it doesn't even look like it does in the movie. It actually looks way brighter.
Yeah, it's daytime. It's not like daytime, but it's like it's overcast day and. like maybe looking about like 4 or 5 o'clock in the evening or in the afternoon, evening, whatever. It's definitely around that time, but it's definitely still day. Like it would not actually be a night shot. But I think like all those scenes they actually filmed during the day, but the flare sheet scene was actually nighttime.
Interesting.
I think
that
because
they did so many rehearsals. They actually built a full miniature fucking model of the entire set to scale, and they were like doing a lot of like kind of replicating the flares that went up. They just did the just kind of see where the shadows would be.
That was the only time. That was the only time I thought it was a complete miniature.
Yeah, I thought so too. I thought they did some compositing work.
Yeah.
They did not.
They
And
might have
all
done
that shit.
some work to the sky. But
Maybe.
like,
I don't
Probably
know.
the sky they did,
yeah.
but I was so with the scale of the destruction that I saw with those flares and everything like that. I was like, that's a miniature. That has to be, but it was not. They built that town and did all that. I'm just like, holy shit.
Actually, they didn't build the entire thing. They actually did do some CG on the background.
Well, yeah,
like
but
the far
they
background
built,
stuff.
but it's still built.
Oh yeah, no, like everything that you see in the main, area is actually full scale.
In the main frame.
Yeah. It's but the background, especially in the shot whenever he's like jumping into the river, like
that's all CG.
Well, that shot, there's a lot of CG in it. But
Well,
like
he only jumped like what was it, like 5 feet?
I mean, yeah.
I think he
No,
jumped
they
more
had
than that, dude.
they had the behind the scenes. That was, he only jumped like 5 feet. He like was running and then he jumped and he just fell onto.
So they just CG'd in between.
Yeah,
those
he
two
just
takes?
CG'd
I can
between
kinda
the
tell.
fall.
That's the shot that I can tell the most CG in.
Actually, yeah, I have to agree. Yeah, that was the one that I could tell the most, but it still looked really great.
Yeah.
But
I
like,
think
man, you know
more
what
of,
else
like,
was
the,
like amazing about that fucking scene? As soon as he got shot by that fucking sniper, and then he woke up, which is like really the only true cut in the movie.
Yeah,
right.
And it's so strategically placed because there has to be a time gap, and And but the music in that fucking scene was so good.
The music was so.
I was like, holy
the
fuck, it just,
entire
like, made me feel
the music
so
in the entire
insane.
movie was so good. It was like even when he comes out of the river and that dude is singing the song when he comes up to the thing, and I have to say they did a really good job at putting people around that looked like the brother of that dude.
Yeah.
Did you notice that?
Like anybody could be him, and he
and he's around them like. They actually like
Because all you have to go by is that he looks like.
Yeah, he was just like, it looks like me, but older.
Right.
And the guy didn't even end up looking like him, but older. But like they
looked
do
way
this,
more like Henry Cavill and shit.
Yeah, they do like this. That dude is singing. They do this wraparound through the crowd where that guy's singing, and they come back, and he's like leaning up against that tree. There's another dude in the foreground that looks exactly like the other dude. And they like focus on him, that guy, for a second. And I'm just like, is that the guy? Is that the guy? And it's just like, no, this is just another fuck up.
Yeah, I don't know.
That's going to go die here in a second.
Yeah, I just think that I don't know, this movie. I felt like just the fact that it was all one take. I mean, there's so many things for you to like ingest, like the entire movie. Like even for what you're saying, is like you can't really do that with just by doing with a movie with cuts. Like even though I prefer movies with cuts, like this type of movie that really wants you to like really immerse yourself into like World War I, it actually really works in its benefit a lot. And even like whenever it comes to like the biplanes and stuff like that, I mean, I've never really seen a movie like a World War I movie or any war movie that like focuses on like aerial action from the view of the soldiers. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
And it's like you kind of get a different perspective of it, you know?
The only thing that would have even made it better would have been a full-blown trench charge. Mm-hmm. That would be the only that would take my 10 out of 10 review and made it a 15. Like, it was still perfect the way it was, but if they managed to get a
I think them at least charging was like, that was enough. I think.
Yeah.
I think
it provided a good climax.
Yeah.
You know, you're expecting a war film. You know, like they had Saving Private Ryan, where the fucking climax basically starts the movie, and then the ending. Yeah, there's a climax to the ending too, but it's not even as epic as the intro.
No.
Yeah.
But I like to get that payoff at the end. Like it's building up to this fucking what war
This
really
charge,
is. Yeah. And
but
then
the charge at the end was great. I loved it, and I would have loved to see one through that muck. That would have just set the bar even fucking higher, but it was still to me a perfect film.
Yeah, I think it was a perfect film too. I would give it a 10 out of 10.
I would give it 10 out of 10. Definitely.
Man, the thing is, like, I don't know.
What I really like though is how like they kind of give it a little bit of a balance about how like the enemy soldiers are. They kind of give them like a menacing, like you don't even see them, you don't even see their faces like for some time.
Yeah.
But then whenever you actually see them like face to face, it's like it almost like humanizes them in a way that's like it almost kind of like extracts a little bit of empathy from the viewer a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Especially when he kills that kid.
Yeah, exactly.
That kid, he had to only have been like 16.
Right.
Really, what they were trying to.
Talking about the one that was with the drunk guy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And he choked him to death
Yeah,
there, laying there.
Yeah.
Up until that point, just a bunch of faceless like Terminators. You know?
Mhm,
Yeah.
yeah, exactly.
Yeah, that's the thing about being.
And like you
it's
felt
being
bad for the biplane pilot too. Like they dragged him out of there, and like you felt bad for him, and then he turns around and he just
The thing
fucking
is,
stabs
that's
that
fucking
kid.
Yeah, no, dude.
Whenever I mean, I didn't really feel that bad because I felt like, man, they're fucking idiots. Like they're
Yeah, dude, I thought the exact same
Yeah.
thing too.
I think
It's
even
like-
Schofield said something about let's just put him out of his
Yeah.
misery.
Yeah,
Exactly,
put him out
yeah.
of the.
Yeah.
That's what we
Like,
should have done.
yeah.
But this guy decides to have to be the good guy
Yeah,
right
no,
now,
dude.
You can't.
Nice guys finish last.
especially in war.
Yeah,
Yeah.
especially in fucking war.
Yeah.
They should have just let.
the
They,
nice guys
they
are
should have
finished
dragged him
first.
out of there and put him out. Like I understand
Say
dragons.
the nice guys are finished first.
Yeah. Yep.
They should have dragged him out of. Like I feel like you don't want to see someone burn to death. Yeah, drag him out of there, but like he's on fire. Put him out of his misery.
Right.
Yeah.
Like a quick shot to the head is better than letting the man burn to death. Like, and especially since World War I was different than World War II.
Yeah.
Like, it wasn't like they had the ceasefire during the holiday, and they came out of the trenches and they came out of their places and they like hung out. They hung out with each other. And there was one where they retake towns and leave stuff for each other. You know what I'm saying?
yeah.
Yeah, they actually had one Christmas. It was a ceasefire, and the Germans and the British, they had a soccer game. They sat, they ate together, they hung out together. When that ended, they were back at
Literally
fighting.
killing each other.
They were literally killing each other. The people they were playing with a couple
I
days
literally
earlier.
knew nothing about that. That's fucking nuts.
So they were just fucking being gentlemen. Pretty
Yeah,
much.
they were
They
were
this is-
literally at war for the sake of their country. Like they were still civilized human beings. Like World War II turned completely different. We all just hated each other.
Yeah. At that
like
point.
it was fun to
Yeah.
kill and torment each other.
Yeah.
But like World War I, it wasn't. I don't feel like from the stories I've heard, it wasn't as brutal and hateful as World War II was,
Yeah.
or any other war. It was just men there because they were told to be there.
What I liked about that plane scene is that even though it was such a improbable situation,
Mm-hmm.
like you're almost used to seeing like when you see a plane crash, it's like
Yeah.
fireball and stuff. But here it's like
It's actually realistic.
the
Yeah,
guy
it's a
actually,
realistic-
survives.
Yeah.
and, like,
Yeah.
it's almost like
Well, he crashed, but he kind of fucking
But
skidded
they
into
didn't
it.
have parachutes back then either.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
like
yeah.
they all carried a sidearm.
You know what their parachute was? A fucking pistol.
Yeah,
fucking
to kill
dude.
themselves when they were going down. That was their parachute.
Parachute
like-
into the heavens, dude.
Yeah, woo! I'm going back up.
Yeah. But yeah, all in all, a great movie.
Yeah.
Still not as good as Apocalypse Now, but a 10 out of 10.
God, they're so different. Like
That's so different movies.
Yeah,
Yeah, I know.
it's like they're both
Yeah.
war movies, but they're so different at the same time.
Yeah.
I mean,
well, I'm talking about
I feel like
style. Just taste wise. I'm a little bit more like
of Apocalypse Now. Yeah, I do, but like this is just a different type of movie. I feel like it's more.
What would you compare it to? How would you compare it to Dunkirk?
I would say it's on the same level actually. This one's a little bit more gritty.
I would-
So
I feel like this-
Overall,
You like this more?
I would
I
say
like
1917 is a
Okay.
better movie than Dunkirk.
Okay. I think it's the same. I would put them on the same exact
Yeah,
level.
if you're talking about like a movie where you're just going into like just like a popcorn type movie, I think it's kind of ridiculous even saying that Dunkirk is a popcorn movie.
Yeah,
but
it's
like
not.
it definitely has more of that like type of feel to it, where it's like it has the high octane action and stuff.
I like that.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
like Hog
yeah,
Octane Option. I like the
yeah.
format it was shot in. I like the story. It had its own awesome storytelling.
You can't deny though that like Dunkirk was more of like a Hollywood like
Production?
representation of like war.
Sure. Yeah,
compared
but no,
to
I have to agree. It was
1917.
PG-13, of course it was, but it actually kind of, here's the thing: if it wasn't for those aerial scenes in Dunkirk, I think this one would have been better. But because those aerial scenes do exist and that they actually went through the fucking, the tedious fucking things that they had to do to get those shots, it deserves to be on the same level as this movie.
I think
sure.
What makes this movie better for me is the immersion of it.
Yeah. Well, yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I was way more immersed in 1917. Not like saying I wasn't immersed in Dunkirk, but like I don't think I took my eyes off the screen for 1 second during 1917.
Okay.
Like I don't even think I blinked.
Yeah, no,
like
the movie is just it's easy on the eyes. It's just like basically just there's not like harsh cuts. There's not fast cuts. It's just. It's a perfectly paced movie. I think that's like why I give it.
Yeah, this freaking this one shot take thing throughout the whole movie really lends itself well to war films. That's for fucking sure.
It does. It does. And I would love to see more of it.
Yeah, same here.
I don't want it to be overdone though.
Yeah, same here. Yeah. No, I mean, I really actually hope there's none after this for a while.
Like, unless they did something like different. Like, okay, so we've had our fill of World War II films. Like, I mean, if a World War II film comes out, I mean, yeah, we're gonna see it. But like, do you really look forward to one right now?
No, not really.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Like,
just take a break from it for a while. I feel like that's the way it is with war films. They're so intense and they're so real and they hit it home so fucking hard that you don't really want them like, oh yeah, man, can't wait till, it's not like Madden where you get one every year and shit.
Like,
if 1917 too.
1917, 1918, 1919. Yeah.
Well, like, what would have been awesome is a one shot like how in the same time period as like The Revenant. Mm-hmm. Like they did a few long takes in there which were fantastic.
Yeah.
Like
this movie reminded me more of The Revenant than anything, really.
Yeah.
Even though it was a completely different director and a completely different cinematographer, but
and
I felt
a completely
like this movie
different. Like there were way more cuts and. Yeah, it was. I mean, it wasn't a one-shot looking movie, Revenant, but it had long takes in it that were fantastic.
Yeah,
and that it worked for that time period as well because like you had so much going on. It was way more closer than like so
Revenant
you had
was so good.
Indians running up and like shooting arrows. You had them shooting the muskets and having to reload. Like
this was the opening scene, right?
Yeah,
that fucking opening scene was amazing.
I know. I would just sit and watch.
Actually, we saw that together in RPX, right?
Yeah,
we did. Yeah, that's right. I remember that. But,
fucking RPX.
Yeah,
fuck it.
Yeah, fuck RPX.
Stupid.
Yeah.
What I like about I guess both 1917 and Dunkirk is that like before then I consider myself as a really big like plot guy. Like if it doesn't have like a complex coherent or complex plot, then it doesn't quite like reach like a very high level for me.
Okay, yeah, but intellectually,
right.
yeah.
But with these movies, like their artistic value, I'm gonna sound like a douche, but like their artistic value is like so high, like everything is so well done that it's like you almost don't need like a complex story with like characters with their motivations and like
you don't.
Yeah,
you don't need some fucking like higher up. Here's the thing I like about both Dunkirk and 1917 is that it doesn't really fucking like. Go to the generals like in their offices back at home base in the country and like talking and planning out shit. Like none of that bullshit. None of the politics of it. None of the it's just about on the fucking ground with the soldiers following their story. That's what's most interesting about it anyway.
Yeah.
So like, with Dunkirk, they come onto the beach, you experience that movie as it happened to an actual soldier, not like, oh yeah, we're going to fucking plan this attack here and this attack here. Oh yeah. Oh, the Japanese are going to attack. You know what I'm saying? Like, like nobody cares really about that shit. Actually, at the end of the day,
whenever I watch war movies from like the 50s and 60s, I think that's the problem that they had is that they the Battle of the Bulge or something. It got too like into the actual tactics of the war, and it's like, I mean, that's it's
sure
good. It's a
war
good
is
thing.
tactical as fuck.
I think they'd be good for that time because it was closer to that time.
Yeah,
like, you know what I'm saying? Like,
but there's nothing more interesting than what the soldiers saw on the ground.
But you see, that's why I think that the times make the difference because it's like back then it was like, oh, how did they win this battle?
Yeah.
Like now we know how that is.
Yeah.
It's in our history books. It's in we're taught this where we have infinite knowledge to get this thing.
Yeah.
But what we don't know is how the soldiers went through it. And that's why our stories now for war films are way more impactful rather than the tactical side of what they had then. But that's what they wanted to see. They wanted to know how it happened.
Yeah.
Which I can understand that.
I don't dislike it, but it's like you get
it's
more
much
immersed.
slower paced and less immersed.
You don't get as immersed into it. It's not it's not like an emotional roller coaster. You know what I'm saying? It's like it's more of just like more of a factual type thing, more like a documentary.
Like my dad,
my
dad is a huge war film guy. He's shown us war films since we were born, and I've seen Tora and freaking Battle of Britain and Midway,
Bridge on River Kwai.
Yeah, exactly. And all these movies, they just have that element where they're just like in the war room, like they're fucking, and it's like, don't give a shit. Like I want to see the actual. If this is a war film, show me the war. And this movie actually just shows me exactly what I want to fucking see, and perfectly too. And it just makes it fucking. Dude, this movie blows away any of those movies from the '60s. Like it just
100%
makes them seem like fucking Fisher Price, dude.
Like Tora was another one where it was like kind of a boring movie other than the actual scenes like from Pearl Harbor, which were awesome because they're actually like real fucking
dude, it was amazing.
The planes crashing into
But like at the same time, if you watch the whole movie, I mean the whole intro scene of that movie is like a fucking snore fest. Yeah, the shots are great. You're just watching a bunch of fucking people on an aircraft carrier and shit, or a fucking battleship or whatever, and it's like, oh god, come on, let's get going into the war shit, and then this movie is just all that. It's like, okay, yes, this is what I want,
especially since it keeps moving. They never
let up on the what's there's always something new that's like introduced.
There's how many times he actually stopped? Think about it. How many times they actually stopped? They stopped in the general's thing at the first trench. Mm-hmm. They stopped at the they went slower. I wouldn't say stopped in the bay in the other trench. Mm-hmm. Then they stopped when what's his face got stabbed. Mm-hmm. And then they stopped.
Whenever he got shot in the head.
Yeah, that wasn't even really. Yeah, it was a stop.
None of it really stops. Actually, it stops at that point. Yeah. Whenever he gets shot in the head or in the helmet, it stops there and it actually cuts to black and you hear the audio. Yeah. That's the only real cut in the movie.
Yeah, it's only for real stop. The camera keeps moving during these scenes, but
and it's seamless.
But they don't stop. The characters don't stop moving for these little tiny.
It literally doesn't stop the entire movie. That's why it's so gripping.
Yeah. Then when they're doing the baby with the baby scene, the lady and the baby.
Yeah. Even that's fucking well done.
Yeah.
Dude.
The guy singing and he stops, and then when the movie's over.
Yeah.
That's when it stops. Yeah. It's all the time the characters are moving. Mm-hmm. There's something happening, and it's it
only stops when it needs to.
It absolutely needs to.
Really
yeah.
To show you some fucking wounds on the fucking medical tables, dude.
What do you guys think about all the foreshadowing that didn't really play out?
What do you mean?
Whenever Schofield gets his hand caught on the fence or on the barbed wire, then he gets his hand inside of a dead guy's chest.
Oh yeah,
that's right.
I actually heard somebody go no, that guy's dead.
Yeah, that guy's fucking dead. I did. I was just oh, this is the guy that dies. Okay.
Yeah.
And he wasn't the one that died. I was just oh.
Yeah.
I was kind of.
Back after that, he's like, "Hey, your hand, clean yourself up," and he douses it in an alcohol and wraps it up. It's oh, okay.
Yeah, well,
that's how they did it back in 1917.
You just put your hand inside this decomposed dude. You're fine now.
Yeah, I know. Damn.
Fucking whiskey clears everything, man.
Whiskey is the answer to all of our dreams, dude.
Yeah, it's the answer to everything.
They were handed grenades, and they were like, "Why would they give us grenades if we never used the grenades?"
Yeah.
I actually kind of like that because it kind of keeps you on your toes, even though they don't really
they only used the flare that they were given, right. And it was just done.
Yeah, and the milk of all things, that he puts in his canteen.
Oh, that helps. That helped for the baby. Mm-hmm.
But the thing is, if I were to have a canteen, I would rather have milk than water.
Oh yeah, definitely, of course, dude. Fuck.
I don't know, unprocessed milk like that.
Nah, dude, it's all
you're in
pure.
A fucking war, dude. You need those fucking
right?
City boy.
You need some nutrients. You need that fucking utter.
I'd rather
nutrient.
starve and have water than blood and pus milk.
Nah, dude, it's utter nutrients, dude. No.
Utter nutrients. You need to get out of here.
Oh god. All right. Fuck you, dude. Oh shit.
Oh.
Anyways, let's go ahead and wrap this one up.
All right.
We're this movie is good and done, dude. It's good and good.
10 out of 10.
Yeah, 10 out
I
of
actually
10.
walked into this movie like right at the end.
Yeah.
I went in an hour early because the time was 1:50, but I went there like at 12:50. I just had a brain fart that just I don't know. So like I went in there with my.
We always brain farting, dude. God damn. Anyway, go on.
Yeah, where's the lie, right? But like, no, but like I went in there and like I actually went in during the scene. I guess spoiler alert, but like whenever like the song kicks in, you know, whenever the Schofield's like listening into that dude sing, and like. It's kind of surreal because I'm actually going inside of the theater while the song is going on, and the character's like walking into like the scenes, like I'm like, oh, okay, this is the start of the movie because I was a little late even to that, so it was like, okay, all right, cool, and then he makes it to the end, and he like he does what he was supposed to do, and I was like, wait a minute,
15 minutes, 15-minute movie. That was all that it took.
Okay, and then I found out I was like, oh my god, so I just had to take my popcorn. And like go outside and sit on the bench for like another 20 minutes, just like on my phone, like on.
So you literally saw the end of the fucking movie.
I just saw the end of the
Well,
movie.
not the end of the movie, but he saw like the climax of the movie.
And it was that guy that was like left standing, so like obviously the other kid died.
Yeah, no, right?
So it's like,
yeah.
God damn it.
Yeah, no.
I do like how they
fucked
ended
that up,
it.
dude.
I like how they ended it the same way it began with him laying up against that tree like that.
Yeah.
pretty
Imagine if you just walked in, like, eating your popcorn and the flare chains going, let's go. Oh, yeah, this movie's good.
I wouldn't even made it to my seat. I would have been eating my popcorn like right in the aisle.
Yeah. Like,
I was at Alamo, and so I had like this ghost pepper burger, and I was like, "This is so hot. This is so hot, but I can't take my eyes off it."
oh, man.
Like trying to find my straw. I'm like,
All right, time to wrap this one up,
Yeah.
guys.
again.
Good episode, good movie, good times, man. 2020 is where it's at.
And thank you to our library people, library.tv, for
Oh, yeah.
coming in here and supporting. We already got 145 followers, so that's really nice. Thank you all.
Definitely, yeah.
And so everybody that tunes in, watch it again, and
Library is where it's at, dude.
library.
So
I
the
mean,
New content creators,
Yep.
like, library is where it's at.
YouTube's not really going so well, but we'll keep trying. But library definitely. Ah!